Welcome to the Benefits Boost,
where we bring game-changing ideas to you.
the people shaping the future of benefits.
Let's jump in.
Oh my God, we're recording. It's real.
It's live.
real.
Woohoo! You're our first remote guest ever.
Yeah.
you.
Introducing Stephanie Brazil, Director of Benefits and Workforce Support Services at TAG, aka the Aspen Group.
That's right.
We're so excited to have you on.
I am so excited to be here. I wish I could be there in person next time. I will.
Next time, we almost made it
absolutely
happen.
Yeah.
But, wildfires, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Children.
Small
those sorts of things.
details.
Children, wildfires. Stephanie, we're super excited to have you on because you've been, first of all, we've gotten to know you as a Airbo customer for years at multiple organizations.
Yes.
And you've always been so ahead of the curve on so many things and have actually really made a huge effort to make our product better and send us, paragraphs of stuff to implement and come up with great ideas. And so big purpose here for us is to try to bring as much innovative as thinking as possible that we're seeing on the edges into the mainstream of the benefits industry. And I think you're a huge part of that. So thank you for being here
That is
today.
a huge compliment. Thank you. Yes, I have made myself an unofficial part of your DevOps team.
You really are. I love it. I'm always like, okay, Stephanie's ideas. Let's have her look at this and review before we launch anything out.
And it so fills my bucket, the ability to be early access on anything or try it out, because to your point, being innovative and trying to figure out how to move the needle and support people, especially in their understanding of benefits, is a passion project of mine that has become more and more personal as it comes to my parental journey and the extension out of that. So, yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by, Airbo. We make benefits education simple and engaging and free. We really believe that everyone should have access to wonderful benefits education so that your employees have all the resources they need to thrive using your programs. And let's be honest, so that you don't get all that employee noise. You can sign up for our free AI tool, free microsite, and lots of other great stuff at airbo.com/free. Tell us a bit about that. Tell us about how it's become more personal for you.
So there has been a couple different things in my life that has, handled that. My brother-in-law unfortunately took his own life, and that, knowing mental health for veterans, because he was young and just came out of the military, was something that really kind of started that for me, and seeing the need for mental health. I unfortunately had my cousin, very similar, lost his life to having OCD and trying to self-medicate. And then I had twins, and my twins were 6 weeks early. And so I got to experience the NICU, and from the NICU experiencing being a special needs mom and learning how to navigate not only the healthcare system, but early intervention, the medical model for support, and then now the educational journey on that. And I have been fortunate to be remote even prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, I worked in my walk-in closet because everyone was home. Yes, luckily I have a big closet. Yes,
In one quiet place.
Being hunched in the corner of my closet, trying to figure out how to change policies and keep people safe, and everything else on the fly by the minute, it felt like, during that entire time. But I have the grace to where I can flex and go and handle a meeting at a school. And so I have a lot of empathy when it comes to people who, to be able to support their families appropriately, have a traditional 9 to 5, are tied off on a roof, repairing a roof, and being able to carve out that time to advocate and to educate themselves in something that we make very, very complex as a society here in the United States, probably elsewhere, but I'm more well-versed on, American healthcare. And that then becomes your own language that you have to learn how to navigate through. So that is why it has really, really become a passion project of mine.
Wow. I knew half of that story. That's really touching. I mean, it sounds like your job to you is part of your mission. You're kind of like a mission driven. Just how you come off in our interactions.
Yeah.
But it makes so much more sense when you kind of think about it that way. You live in a pretty interesting geography, right? We were just talking about that yesterday outside of Tahoe.
Yep, I'm up in the Tahoe area, so up in the foothills out on 6 acres. So it's definitely different from when I was in the Bay Area, but there's pros and cons to everything. There's a lot of less of things, but the quality of things have been more in certain instances, which I think is important.
Can we actually just back up to your journey through being in this industry? So what year did you join like benefits?
See, my journey actually is even more interesting than that, I think, for the Californians who are going to know what I'm talking about. So I started at Kaiser when I was 18. So at Kaiser, I started in their call center, which is triaging health information stuff. And going from there, then I ended up in the emergency room. And I was in the emergency room for almost 8 years. And I was doing staffing and scheduling and payroll and some HR functions. But I really started to understand like the passion that I had of different access to different programs and ran payroll teams. And so you have to know how to schedule someone to be able to pay them. So it's been this really, really nice evolution. And then from there, I started to kind of niche in more on HRIS, which then kind of naturally came benefits and payroll. And so I always really sit within the benefits and HRIS and payroll. They're so interconnected that for me, at least from the way that I work, I need to understand the entire life cycle. When I am supporting team members or I'm supporting a vendor, I want to understand what that endpoint is going to be and what that outpoint is going to be so I can poise my team to do that. So I've gone, from the healthcare industry to meeting you all at a retail organization they would maintain the schematics within grocery stores to now being in, the Aspen Group as a retail health organization. So it kind of found me on my journey.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that you had worked in the ER or had worked at Kaiser initially. That's a really cool background to have when you're in the benefit space, because I'm sure you've experienced
Oh, yeah.
people like needing how they use their benefits at that time.
Definitely. I was there almost 10 years. My stepmom is still there. She's in the emergency room. I have a sister who just graduated with her BSN who's working on getting in there. Let's see, I have a sister that's a rad tech. I have a sister in ICU and one that is in plastic surgery within.
How many sisters are we up to?
I know. I was like, whole family in healthcare.
So I have 6 sisters and 1 brother. I'm the oldest. My youngest sister and I are 20 years apart.
Oh my God.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. They all still think I'm cool enough to take them out for their 21st birthdays, which is beyond me. So I finally just finished the last one's 21st birthday. We've gone through the gamut of that. Now it's on to nieces and nephews. And I think me and the walker at that point, they may not want me out like doing shots on the 21st, but we'll see.
Hey, we'll see.
I don't know. I can imagine that you'd be pretty fun.
They may not even be drinking anymore.
Exactly. I know. Right.
This is the hot new thing.
That's the hot thing, right?
Drinking less. Or
Yeah.
not drinking at all.
Yeah. Stephanie, can you tell us, just because you were telling us before about what your current role is and all of the things you oversee, can you go into that a little bit? Because just from what you were just saying, and then also knowing what you currently do, I think it's a really, like, you are in such a unique role for like your mission.
I definitely am. So I started with the Aspen Group just as the benefit operations manager, and then kind of grew to the entire life cycle of benefits. From there, we grew to knowing that we needed to bring in-house leave of absence, and how could we do that to better support our organization. So an interesting fact about our organization is we are 98% women within childbearing age. So that ensuring that leave of absence and that parental journey is really being supported. So we brought that function in-house. So I stood that function up. Additionally, then I saw, well, if we did really great benefits program, we need to communicate it really well. So I have an employee wellness and engagement manager who helps support all of our communications. Then we have a team that's called our team member care team. That is a team of phenomenal people who deal with all of entry point of phone calls and tickets from all 30,000 team members across our brands, from everything from benefits questions to how do I delegate my credit card. They have to be the masters of all within that space. And so Alexandra, who is my manager on the comm side, did me a solid and worked with me to stand up that function and rebuild it. And she's phenomenal. And so we have that. So now I am able to impact change from the point of first contact that a team member has an issue to them interacting with their benefits, for them going out on a leave of absence. So I get to encapsulate the whole part of that life cycle, which is really, really amazing to be able to do. And I have a lot of gratitude for it.
That's really interesting. It's gonna give you a pretty unique view. And how many employees total are you guys?
We fluctuate a bit, but we run at about 30,000 team members.
Okay, so 30,000. Here's a doozy for you. What do you think? I mean, you have an interesting background. You have an interesting view of of this like challenge we face. What do you think you see that other people don't see in the industry? Like, what is something that you know that other people don't?
That's such a broad question, but a good one, thought provoking. I hate talking about
Hey.
myself, Vlad. So that's all. I should have just been in the industry in general, because then I go, "Ah." One of the things that I think that is different that I see is those different components and how those puzzle pieces play together from a company standpoint. So when it comes to the vendor management and understanding budgetary concerns, etc. But I really take it that's one piece of the puzzle that I have to look at very differently. But ultimately, what I think that kind of stands me apart is I really put myself in the team member's shoes. Could I understand this? Could I navigate this? I am very prescriptive and intentional about trying to build out personas based on what our team members have within the organization, so they could resonate and connect with different stories, or put in vendors or tools to help them be able to get curated responses to help them navigate through. And that is really my driving force in everything that I do, from an account management team with my vendors to the way that I structure programs. Is it usable? Because I can make it look really, really pretty on paper, but if no one uses it, it's not worth the grid in the benefit guide that it sits in. And so ultimately, when I joke that I don't know if I'm a marketer who loves benefits or a benefit person who loves marketing, but I am selling you having health and well-being for you and your family, which is your most important assets, on top of your time that it takes for you to figure out how to navigate it, to enjoy that time. Like, health really is wealth. So that, I don't know if that makes me in the forefront of anything, or it's just being mission driven on how to go about it. But that has helped me forge such really good relationships within the benefit space, because ultimately I want to come from a service lens.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I actually think that does make you different.
Yeah.
We're in an industry that like gets that constantly wrong so badly over and over again, and spend so much money on it. Having that, I mean, even like the profiles thing that you said is so interesting. Like, how do you approach that? I mean, is that just like kind of in your head and you think about it, or like do you guys have it written down, or how do you
Back to kind of, tag is a great one. I came into this organization and had absolutely no identity. I think that you have to have an identity, and it's a very Simon Sinek of me, and kind of Apple. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for, Apple, but Apple doesn't sell their products. And watch their commercials, any of them. At the end, they might flash you an iPhone or some AirPods, but they are selling you an experience. They are selling you a feeling. And people need to have an emotional attachment and understand the why to be able to buy in. So initially, I have to go and look and say, am I walking into an organization that they have a benefit guide where no one is able to see themselves in it? Is it speaking to them as a population? Does it tell our why? And if it doesn't, then we need to overhaul. And that is the first thing that I did, was a complete overhaul to that, and worked on giving it an identity. Usually you would see my logo in my background, but anyways, like having a logo and encapsulating all of our brands. And then I go and I start having conversations with our team members and trying to get the feedback and looking at what our saturations are of our different populations, by gender, by age range, by orientation, all of those different things. Because at the end of the day, I want everyone to find themselves. I've got drop top grandpa with his tattoos on the front of my benefit guide because I got tattoos on my arms. I mean, it's the thought of what a traditional professional is these days is very different. And so I want everyone to find themselves. And so I go and I push the envelope until I get told I got to pull it back a little bit, and then I pull it back a little bit, and I continue to push and find that sweet spot of where an organization is ready for growth.
I love that. And so I just was like Googling or YouTubing the video you just mentioned. And for those folks that haven't seen it, and Evelyn, maybe we could like put it in the show notes or something like that. It's called Start With Why: How Great Leaders Inspire Action. It's by Simon Sinek. He actually wrote a book about it as well. And it's like a
Yeah.
really wonderful. Oh, geez. Now I got YouTube playing. It's so funny. It's a really wonderful video. Now, ironically, you mentioned Apple. I was literally just talking to someone who works at whose partner works at Apple, and all they could do was trash their benefit communications.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah. They literally don't have an intranet. And if you want to find anything there as an employee, they make you apparently go to like search a forum that feels like Reddit. It's a total
And I'm
nightmare.
getting old. Like, I don't get Reddit. Like, trying to find anything on that is like not user friendly to me. And I'm so big about like UX and like being intuitive to people. You could teach me offline if I need to like get up to speed on Reddit, but I don't get that.
The interface is horrible, but you know what it is? I think this goes back to this Apple example as well, is that there's so much disinformation on the internet now that when you Google a term and you put Reddit, I mean, assuming you're even Googling, right? Like I've actually moved most of my searches over to OpenAI now,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, because
Yeah.
do you as well? I'm just
Yeah.
curious. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Google is just so bad now. So when I do Google, I put Reddit at the end of anything that I put in that's like, what's the best like mug Reddit? Because that's at least like generally real people saying it versus
Yeah.
like I was just doing
Versus the ads.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
doing snowboard research and,
Oh.
and like, everything was Reddit after just because of the source. So I don't know. Maybe that's like
Yeah. Although I don't know if I'd particularly want to search for benefits information like that, like as an employee, if that's kind of the experience.
no, it
That
sounds
some
like a
people are getting.
nightmare, but
Exactly.
it sounds like but if you're trusting your peers over the
Mm.
official documentation,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
that's
a
that's
problem.
a little
that's really
scary.
troubling.
Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just sparked for me like where I think that we have an obligation of people in this space to take people on a journey. Because to your point, people don't understand. Just like you would coach a best friend through like or teach someone how to snowboard. I've never snowboarded. You would tell me like, go get this, go do this, be mindful of that. I don't understand why, as organizations, we're not understanding to doing that more. I could go into a variety of things, like you have to ensure adoption, et cetera. But especially if you're self-funded on medical, I mean, even if you're fully insured, but your rates are contingent on your health outcomes. So why wouldn't you want to help Sally know that on this side of the street, the x-ray is $1,000, but if she walks 200 feet over across the street, it's $100. Like, why would we not want to do that? Because what happens then is Sally, doesn't realize that. And maybe Sally's in a socioeconomic position where she has to make a decision on, do I go buy diapers and formula tonight, or do I go get this x-ray and wish I was told that I need to get done? And that's where I'm seeing and where lots of passion comes from me as well, part-time workers, et cetera, where you have people that are in a position that they question whether or not to go get the healthcare they need. They do it because of ACA, et cetera, which I understand might be going away and whole different talk. But as of right now, because of the concerns of ACA and mandates, et cetera, but they do it to come out of their paycheck because they have to, not because of understanding that they could leverage it to support them.
With our other clients, why do you think, because I actually agree, like I mean I think we've been saying this since I entered the industry in 2005. In 2005 we were saying this, that go across the street to get the x-ray, go across the street to get the MRI. This still feels like a gap. What do you think?
I think it's so a lot of our clients are, I mean, very similar to how you think about it, Stephanie, which is amazing that we get to work with so many like-minded people. I think that this can be hard for people to figure out if they don't have that marketing mindset or the
People, you
mindset.
mean the benefits team?
Yes, yes, exactly. Or a company to like really think through how to solve this if they don't have that mindset, because it's hard. Like it takes time and effort and all of that to go and, figure out how the why for your population, right? The different personas that you have. And I know a lot of companies do have the resources to do it, but so many companies are so lean in the benefits and the HR space that they're just like getting by with what they have time to do. And so, like, this does take effort. And I think I'm sure a lot of people want to be able to do this, but it's just very hard.
I agree. I do think that there is an opportunity, though, for leaders to help. People's perspectives are the reality. And if you have benefit teams that are kept within the benefit realm and don't understand that the way that the benefit package is part of what people look at to retain talent. But what they also don't understand is that you may be having an impact on attrition. So there are impacts to organizations that I don't even think that are noticed by a benefit team, that maybe if we broaden the awareness of the life cycle and how important it is, would help them navigate through that. I'll give you an example. There are organizations that I've seen where the employee benefits, let's say medical, is not completely employer funded, and there's an employee portion of it. Typically, when someone goes out on an LOA, if they're on a protected leave of absence, that money goes into arrears. And so when someone comes back to an organization, they're paying back those benefits on top of the benefits that they have for current point in time after returning from a leave of absence. A lot of people, contingent on where it is, statistics are showing, don't return from leave of absence because they make more money by going to a different organization as opposed to having to pay back those benefits that are in arrears to them. And that's probably something that, because it goes into a cost center of like overhead write-off in organizations, there's not visibility to line of sight of like, okay, because we didn't do something better here within this benefits realm, now your TA team is being impacted on trying to have to find and attract more talent. And then additionally, you're having overhead costs that you didn't necessarily need to have because you're having to backfill those people while you're trying to find new people. So you're paying out overtime, et cetera, to do that, as opposed to looking to the entire life cycle and the spidering impact of how you structure your benefits, how team members are paying for them, any ancillary benefits, short-term disability, et cetera, that would help people be in a position to come back on the right foot, would really impact the vitality of an organization. But because this sits in finance and this sits in payroll and this sits in benefits and this sits in TA, we somehow have to bridge the gap across organizations as a whole to understand that each point impacts each other.
You just blew my mind. Seriously. That's such a good example that I've actually never heard. Wow. Because I usually hear it more abstract and fuzzy. Usually it's like, we should engage our team members and we should attract better team members, and, benefits can help with retention. And I'm always like, yeah, I get that, but it's such a hard argument to make, nuts and bolts. And what you just said is so nuts and bolts. It's so obvious that if someone can make more money by leaving and they're leaving, that if you change that structure, they're going to be more likely to
Correct.
stay. And
So it's pay me now, pay me later. And what's happened is making sure that you're educating your executive leadership to understand that spend is happening one way or the other. You can either spend it and keep the talent that you have and have longevity and tenure, or you can go ahead and not do that. And then you're spending it on overhead to make sure that your operations do okay, and then on talent acquisition. But at the end of the day, you're going to spend the dollars. So it's about being more effective. It goes back to that storytelling. It is helping empower benefit leaders to be able to tell those stories and be able to ebb and flow in ways that they need to. The way that I'm going to explain that to a talent acquisition team is going to be much different than it's going to be to my VP of functional accounting. Speak different languages. I'm going to put it on an Excel workbook for him. I'm going to have it on a PowerPoint over here. And so learning your audiences within the organization and how to present to them from a back-end standpoint and how you collaborate cross-functionally is hugely important to having a successful total rewards plan.
love that. I wanna shift topics because it's kind of adjacent because we're kind of like bumping up onto is and Kate, I'm gonna throw it to you for a second in
Yeah.
a second to we're kind of bumping up on this idea of capacity constraints and the benefits in HR teams.
Hmm.
And I actually in the past life was an HR transformation consultant, which is a really fancy way of saying that when I
Yes.
worked at Willis Towers Watson, we get brought in to fire a bunch of people and restructure into COEs and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And so there's been this sort of pressure that continuously gets put on the HR teams and benefit teams to do more and more with less and less. Enter AI, kind of an interesting construct. The initial, I think, fear with AI coming out was like, oh, this is going to reduce the roles. It's going to be less HR people. It's going to like lead to firings. And I'm actually of the opinion that you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to the person that knows how to use AI. That's like very much my mindset and what I'm seeing around me. And it has this incredible capacity to get rid of administrative stuff that nobody actually really wants to do. And it is the reason I think this administrative stuff, busy work essentially, that a lot of benefit in HR teams don't have the capacity to like do the more strategic things that are really exciting and can like shift our industry forward and what we talk about at conferences, but then a lot of times don't actually get to do at work. And so I wanted to kind of cue up this subject because Stephanie, you've been an early adopter of AI with Airbo.
I have.
Kate, I know this is a topic you guys wanted to discuss. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, Stephanie, I would love to just like hear a little bit about your enrollment last year and kind of how you were starting to think about enrollment, knowing that you were taking over the member care team at that time
Yeah.
and that there was a pretty big challenge with the questions that were coming in. Maybe we start there and then we can talk through how we started to layer Airbo AI in.
Yes. You'll probably have to pull the analytics to remind, but I can give kind of some perspective. Each week, so I have a team of 4 on team member care supporting 30,000 team members that do that first point of entry. So navigation in our HRIS to anything benefit related, they try to bring to resolution and then it goes to a tier 2 team, which is like a handful of people too. So I understand the whole leanness and operational efficiencies. What I do, because I am an early adopter in AI, and there's sometimes I have some mixed emotions about it, to be quite honest, because you still have to audit the AI the same that you would have to audit an individual at this point. Do I think that it'll more and more involved and more it learns? So there is a due diligence that I think that you need to have in place. So the first thing I'm always going to do is due diligence on my operational efficiencies as it is to begin with, and how can I ebb and flow, and then look at where can the technology complement that and provide support for those pain points. And TMC was the one. They are averaging not just calls, just ticket completions, roughly 270 per person per week on top of the phone calls that are coming in. That is just when we're at business as usual. You add in open enrollment year end, that skyrockets. And I'm like, that's not sustainable. And that's going to be a really bad experience. So here comes Kate and like, hey, want to check something out? And I'm like, I think
It's true. I was like, you want to try this out?
John on the phone. We're chatting. What we got? What we got? So we went ahead with Airbo AI. I call it Benny. So that's
I love that.
There's his, yeah, Benny. It's great. It has a logo and everything.
Benny Arbot was like the savior when it came to open enrollment. So what was also really interesting, and actually once we set it up, removed some of the potentials for human error, is amongst these brands, we have lots of little niches. So we run as a PEO, even though we're a little bit more incestuous, we own the brands that we do professional services to. We don't do it outside of like our little infrastructure. So we have a management company and then we have the brands, and within these brands, little microclimates. So you have to make sure that you're telling everything the same. We run where the Aspen Group provides all the benefits, so have a holistic look and feel, but there are certain nuances because there are things that appeal to our aesthetics practice that may not appeal to our veterinary practice. And so we have to be mindful of those niche situations. So we stood up Benny, and Benny was phenomenal. Like being able to text Benny, embedded Benny in our benefits website, But as you kind of got from my vibe, I was like, we have to brand him first and he needs to have an identity. We really worked with Kate and your team on what does Benny mean to me and how could I make Benny gender agnostic and approachable and have an appropriate tone. Also push the envelope on needs to have a contact card. So when you open it up, you see Benny on your phone and you know who you're talking to. And then your team and I just stayed really, really close on what were those inquiries that were coming in. And our way to operationalize those tweaks on the fly was astounding. Like I just, for knowing the size of your team and the quality of product that you guys put out over the years, I'm just constantly floored. And especially, you know, the Kates and the Johns of the world are like, yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. It's like okay. And I'm like stressing out thinking it's like going to be the hardest thing. And we're like 4 weeks out and they're like, is 2 hours okay? I could make that happen for you. Not trying to set you guys up for unrealistic expectations for people out there in the world watching, but it is extremely impressive what you guys do, especially because you take the time to get the essence of your organizations that you're partnering with and what the me's of the world are trying to do for their team members within it, which is what I think sets you apart.
Oh,
It's so sweet.
that's so
I
nice to
love it.
hear.
But
Yeah.
I guess I have to say right back at you. You helped us push the envelope on the AI stuff. Like you were the one that was like, this needs to be on the website because we had initially just had it via text.
Because of me, because I was insistent that it should be text only.
Text only.
I was wrong.
And then you were like, we need it. So John, our director of product, went and figured it out. And we had it spun up really quickly. And then the participation skyrocketed because that's where people were going versus asking text. So it was, to your credit, you definitely helped us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You were driving people to your microsite and then it was able to help them there. So it was really cool to see like how we could make a tweak quickly and it would have a huge impact on the place.
I also think I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because we talked about why things are so passionate to me in the beginning, was I really pressure tested. How can we look for tone and sentiment? What if someone starts to say some of those things that it's not just open enrollment related, that we need to get them some benefits about mental health or other things? How can we try to get those? And so we did, like we tested and tested and tested and made sure that we were encapsulating that to be able to try to help someone in the moment, in the event that we started to see that type of interaction.
That's actually when we first got into the AI space, which we kind of saw it coming like over 2 years ago. And so we started to prepare our organization for it. And then we really went into like high gear around it about a year and a few months. But there was this question of like, well, how is this going to be different than what ChatGPT can do or, you know, whatever. And what you're talking about, Stephanie, I think is like one of my major takeaways from this whole experience is like that whole calibration process of making that AI agent sound like the organization, have the right brand, the right tone, frankly, the right humanity around handling really tricky questions, and where to draw the limits of what it will and will not handle and where to escalate. I think they are very organization specific decisions. In that pressure testing and calibration when you're setting it up, I've been surprised by how I shouldn't say big because I don't think it takes a long time, but how important that part of the process is.
Oh yeah, it's important. And I mean, I think it's one of those things that I would delay a go live to have it go right. Because ultimately what you're doing is having someone embody through AI something that people are going to have trust and faith in that you have vetted as an organization. That's another thing for me in the benefit space is people don't question as much as I think that they should when things come from their employer. And so that's also why I am very strategic about personas and here's the why behind it and all of that. Because what I don't want is you told me to do this way. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Having the time to make sure that that tool is right is important. And also, how does it play in your ecosystem? Meaning, are you putting it at those right entry points for the journey? We also complemented all of the AI that we did with another partner that we have that provides decision support. Because another thing that I want to be able to help and do within the space is remove the fact that you're giving me all your personal information. I don't necessarily want you calling one of my benefit team members, having to feel that vulnerable and say, I just got a cancer diagnosis. What do? I don't know what to do with for my benefits this year. I want you to be able to have a trusted partner that you can ask questions and get directed to a resource where you can maintain the dignity of your own personal situation and not have to be vulnerable, but still get the information you need to make the right decisions. And then once you've made those decisions, making sure that I'm then supporting you on the back end on utilization is important.
Like a safer way to ask scary questions.
Yep.
Really?
Definitely.
This is still within using AI, but it's more within the open enrollment. So I don't remember how you have a 2-week enrollment period, correct?
Yes.
Was it just 2 weeks?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't recall exactly when you and Alexandra came to us and said, hey, we have a lot of people that aren't enrolling yet and it's an active enrollment and we need to remind them to enroll. And so what we ended up doing, this was actually really cool, was you all sent us the employees that hadn't enrolled and we added it into Benny. And if that employee gave their employee ID, Benny would reply at the end of their message, it doesn't look like you've enrolled yet. Remember, click here, and it would like direct them to your admin site. And it was like this, like they'd kind of already gone through the flow, and then it gave them a really nice reminder.
I forgot about that. I'm sorry. I forgot about that because I will come up with solutions on the fly. Like
and you really did on this one.
Have a conversation and I'll be like, it would be really cool if we could try this. And we're like, let's try it. And then in the moment, then when you step back, that's why I'm trying to get better at documenting. So when I step back and reflect on like, that's right, because it's pretty revolutionary in the fact of like, and then we did text reach outs as well strategically to those populations to support them. You have helped us in not even open enrollment. We had to do a mid-year, what I like to call, most people will call mid-year, but an end of year. So in October, I got a notice on a Friday that Monday I needed to move all of my HSA and FSA plan to a different vendor because a vendor who I had lost their banking relationship. So I had to go out to RFP, find a new vendor and move everything before people's money went into the wherever it was going to go. So it basically ran 3 open enrollments at the same time in the sense of I had to get all of this people moved over for the end of the year, did it within 45 days so that they could end the plan year in the midst of open enrollment, bringing a new brand into Workday, and then had to, within that open enrollment, introduce the new vendor to the rest of the population who wasn't the impacted population in this transition. So I leveraged Benny and Airbo and messaging a lot to make it all happen.
That's so wild. I didn't know about the banking thing.
I forgot. Yeah, we used the AI tool for the banking as well. We had stuff in there. So when people ask questions, it would refer them to the new vendor.
And if they had completed the documentations that we needed them to in Workday, then same idea. We were like pointing them to Workday to do what they needed to do, which is a cool like integration thing. Maybe not for topic here, but having integrations of once enrollments are done so you guys can see and tie in the back-end analytics of how our different pushes and supporting played out through the year. This is my plug that I would love to see you go there, Vlad. I don't get to talk to you as much as Kate, so here we go.
I'm going to tell you all my ideas right now.
Let's do it.
I would love to be able to somehow do the entire journey where you have like a new hire experience, open enrollment experience. You're tying back those enrollments and somehow we plug you in to like navigation to help support people because you know the plan details. So when Susie's on her phone with her Airbo app and she needs to find that x-ray, that you help coach her through that she needs to go the right-hand side of the street as opposed to the left-hand side of the street because she's familiar, she trusts it and all of that. And then you're aiding your clients on cost mitigation when it comes to claims, et cetera. And you're helping someone navigate through their experience as they need and something that's familiar. Or text Benny, where's the best x-ray for me to go? Where's the best place for me to get a prescription?
Yeah, we could do that.
I love that. See, that's very Airbo of you. That's sure.
This is what I think about is so fascinating about the whole AI thing that's happening. When I first left Towers Watson to start Airbo Labs / H-Engage, RIP, the whole idea was to
I want
move.
one of those shirts when you find them too. Sorry to interrupt.
Everybody raises these shirts.
And
I feel like
yeah, now I want one of those shirts. I heard there's big money in those shirts. They need to revive themselves.
If only there was somebody with the power. I think my family might have a reserve of those in the attic. I gotta find them.
I know.
We'll reprint them. We'll get you one.
There you go, reprint one.
I know my dad has a couple. Sometimes he sees the Heart
I think
HR,
our
or he wears the
families-
Love HR
Our
one.
families are the unofficial keepers of
The Airbo swag
The Airbo
of past
swag, yeah.
days.
I
Yeah.
love that.
But the whole idea was to move us towards a text-based interface for navigating benefits, because I really don't think this Web 2.0 point and click interface works very well for complicated information.
Yeah.
It only works well for things that we use a lot. And most people don't use their benefits that much most of the time, right? It's an infrequency problem. I love where you're going with this stuff. I completely agree with you. And so what we're talking about here is like, Airbo AI / Benny for you guys
Yeah.
is the interface. And then the next point of that is like, okay, well, does the interface need to suddenly own every single thing that other providers are already doing? And you probably guess where I'm going with this. Like, no, there's probably you guys are probably already working with a wonderful provider that can give you the right data on what's across the street.
Yep.
The challenge is, do they have an API that we can plug into and serve that up to the person? If the answer is yes, yeah, we could do that in like 2 weeks. It's not a big deal.
You bring up another thing that we're constantly trying to solve. I call it traffic copying, and you have all
What do you call it?
traffic copying.
Traffic copying.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have like all of these vendors, like let's say your VB vendors and all of these different ones that are wanting to send communications at all times.
Yeah.
And so it's information overload. It goes back to my whole journey thing. Like, I don't know, do I do this financial thing that this vendor said? Or do I go and do this discount over here for this? Or do I do this over here for this? And we're giving people so many options without the understanding of like, I strategically got this provider to work with this because it gets you here on this. Then people get lost and don't use it, because then it just becomes so scary. We also have the opportunity to bridge the gap of like, okay, I see, looking at claims management of like, okay, I see that you were in the hospital. You're signed up for hospital indemnity. Don't forget you need to go file that claim because that helps get you X amount of dollars. People don't realize that. And so it's, again, I want to meet people where they're at and somehow get ahead of it and help them. And as much as you can make it set it and forget it, the example I give back is way back when I, first started with Airbo, I had team members that had accessibility issues. So I brought in a part-time healthcare plan to do that. Then they were on a lower wage scale, and they weren't leveraging the 401k for pre-tax dollars. And I'm like, you're leaving money on the table. So I got them a free bank account that gave them cash back, automatically did savings way back when, that rolled the change into their savings account. I tied that to another vendor that they could go shop at their everyday places that they always did for groceries that would give them cash back towards their 401k. So they didn't have to do anything but live their actual life the way that they normally would. And they were saving for themselves and lowering their taxable income just by the way I structured this benefit offering for them. And so the more that we can be strategic in the benefit place and set things up that help different socioeconomic subsets within your community to where it's set it and forget it, the better you're going to be for your team members.
Wait, is this something you structured, or is this a vendor that already does what you just
I
described?
structured it with 3 different vendors.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait, does this exist?
Yeah, it exists.
Wait, there's a vendor that does this today?
These components that I put together to be a
No,
total offer?
like the components you put together, is there
No.
a vendor that does those components?
No.
You want to start a company?
I was going to say, if you're going to go to market with that, I want my official advisor badge for Airbo on LinkedIn.
You're in. I think that's brilliant. I'm so passionate about that. That's a topic I really care about a lot.
Yeah.
I don't even want it to make money. I want it to be like a nonprofit, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like that's
Yeah.
important.
It's exactly
Um,
tying those things together. And that translates to so much space as a special needs mom who's trying to figure out the IEP and 504 process, et cetera. Like if someone would just give me the bundle that I had to navigate through in one package, but you don't. You have to try to go shopping at all these different places to get through the minutia to drill down to what it is that you actually need. People get fatigued about it and they get decision fatigued and all of that, as opposed to I already see what you need based on income, feedback, etc. Here's that package put together for you. Go live your life and it's going to work for itself.
wait, you just need to punch me when you need to say something because I'm
That's okay.
going too fast.
Well, I want to ask Steph a question about how she kind of figures out these populations. But I think, did you have a question about this specific thing first? Because I think it's really important.
I mean, I have so many questions. I want to know everything about how this works, but we don't necessarily need to do it right this instant.
We can always, no, we can chat later. Whatever you want. Yeah.
But okay, but just like people could just go shop for stuff.
Yep.
They would just get cash back
Correct.
and it would go into their 401k
Correct.
and their taxable income was lower because of the cash.
Well, part of it is I encouraged them to do an election because they were missing out an employer match. So because they were low wage earners, I taught them and gave them a calculator how to figure out what they were bringing home right now with having the money go to the government, versus what it would be to lower their taxable income, and said that is the percentage or the flat amount that you take. But you also now have this bank account that anytime you go shopping, you get cash back for, but you're also going to tie it to this program. And when you go shopping in Target, Amazon, whatever, you're going to get cash back on that. That company has now expanded. When I first started with them, because I was their first person and I figured out how to do the payroll flow for them, it only used to be cash back for 401k. Now it is cash back to pay off a student loan, say for a house, emergency savings, 401k, the whole kit and caboodle.
This has to be built. I'm sure there's like so many investors that would want in on this. Okay.
Second company.
We can we can change the topic. That's so good.
Well, this must be.
I'm in SoCal all the time. I got a Disney trip coming up soon. Oh, I come a day
There we
early.
go.
There we
We're
go.
doing it.
Plan myself into the office. I'll explain it all to you.
This was the first company that you worked with us on, right? That you did this for?
Yes.
I was going to say, you probably still have all those communications archived in our system so you can see it, how you set it up exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They're all there.
They're all there. You already have my playbook, Vlad. You just gotta go look.
I just want to work together, stuff. That's all.
I mean,
I'm a team player.
Okay, I think this is important because I think this would be really good for people to hear. One of the things that you've mentioned multiple times is knowing your population and their challenges. Because I hear people, or I talk to people on the phone all the time, and quite frankly, like, they don't know their populations well. They really don't know what they're experiencing in their day-to-day life. They kind of know the basics of like, okay, this is a manufacturing employee. This is how much they make. They're like an hourly, How do you actually find out that that's what these employees need? Like, what's your process for that?
It's not a perfect science. It does come with some bias, I guess you could say, in the sense of in data. I know I say bias and it's a bad word, but or some assumptions might be a better way. So you start there. If I have team members that are in California who are making $20 an hour and I live in California, I know what the cost of milk is, I can start to put some things there. If they're a part-time person and they average 20 hours, I can put some things there. If I look at the data of my population and they're not taking our benefits, and it's not because their decline reason is because they have it elsewhere, I can make some things there. I start making friends with the payroll team. How many people are asking to do early paychecks or do that sort of thing? So then I start to take that information as well. My employee relations team is my best friend as well. What information are you hearing? What are the themes in which that you're having? And I pull all the data from those different places that I can. Not a perfect science. It changes amongst the organization. But themes start to reveal themselves. I've gone into organizations that have programs like purchasing power, where people can go buy a refrigerator at a way higher markup than it should be, but that's what they need at that point in time and take it out of their paycheck. Well, really those ancillary kind of voluntary benefits that people don't think about because brokers have just added them on and you're like, it's in my, repertoire that we have access to. It's somewhere deep buried on a benefits page. I start asking for the analytics and I go and speak with the account management team and they're like, who are you again? And I said, oh yeah, I am me. And now I need to understand about this program. And then I go and look at the messaging and the analytics and utilization and who are the demographics within that utilization. And then I start seeing things. If I start seeing that people are taking out baby stuff as an example, then I know that I have an issue that I need to go look at, that people can't afford diapers and cribs and things like that. And then I start going and seeing, how can I solve that? Is it 100% perfect? Am I hitting everyone? Probably not, but I'm at least doing my best to learn about the organization, the feedback and the themes, and then go ahead and start building those programs amongst those needs, watching the analytics, the feedback, how those things change, and then go ahead and adjusting and course correcting as I need to.
I love how you're just genuinely curious about what's happening with the population. And I think the curiosity is probably the piece that needs to be focused on more.
The information's all there for you.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to get curious about what's actually happening so then you can go and push.
If I walked into Airbo right now, into your guys' office, and had a couple conversations with a couple people and you two were not around, I can tell you what your culture is very, very quickly. Your people resonate your culture. Your people resonate what it is that they need and where there's opportunities really quickly. You just have to be curious and listen.
I mean, I think the other part that really stands out to me about what you just said, you're curious for problems.
Yeah.
That's a mindset.
Yeah. I am naturally one of those people that thinks in problems and solutions and contingency plans of things. And I sometimes with my team have to slow myself down because I have to, Vlad, you and I seem cut from the same cloth on that, because we think a mile a minute and then we talk a mile a minute about that. And we're already like 7 steps down the road. It has been a humbling and growth journey for me to slow myself down and to make sure that my team is all having their input and allowing them to problem solve and solution through it as well. I would be lying if I didn't say I had like 3 solutions in the back of my head in case I need to pull them out, in case something happens, to help the team out and make sure everyone's successful. But yeah, I don't know why I do, but I just think in problems and solutions and outside of the box. Like, how can someone says this can't be done. Why? Why is someone saying it can't be done? There's lots of brilliant people out in the world. There's lots of brilliant technology. Is it can't be done because it's comfortable and it's never been done that way? Or can it really not be done? And start doing that analysis and then start going through the journey of figuring it out.
Yeah. It's first principles thinking. You're bringing it into the benefits industry. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to loop back to something you mentioned and we kind of skipped it over, but I actually, like, way back in this conversation, we had talked about that X-ray problem and crossing the street.
Yep.
The $100 versus the, whatever
it was.
Way more. And why people don't know to go do that when there's programs available. And more to the point, why more benefit teams don't promote that, because it's such a clear cost savings. And I threw that question to you, Kate. And something that really, like, Steph, you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is there are so many vendors that are trying to communicate with employees that I think we kind of lose the forest through the trees kind of like vibe. Like, we kind of forget that there are some programs that are really, really important to cost savings and to the employees' well-being. And there are other things that are kind of nice to have and don't really need to be communicated maybe as frequently within a certain environment. And I guess I'm curious, Steph, with your vendor management, because this is an area that we're doing a lot of work with our clients on right now, because we're finding that we're turning into the vendor traffic cops, I guess, is to use your word from
also
earlier.
A Stephanie suggestion from at some point last year. She's like, you guys need to build a vendor management
Wait,
system.
that was you too?
Oh, she's definitely seeded that thought before.
That's so funny.
Oh, I remember exactly where I was standing when Stephanie called it and said, I need help managing vendors.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Like, I'll be driving and a thought will come in and I'll be like, oh, Kate's going to answer. Like, you need to think about this. Okay, we'll talk later. Bye.
Yeah.
That's so
okay,
funny.
Sorry, keep going. It was just too good to.
Okay.
Yes. There's a need for it.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, like, are your vendors allowed currently to communicate directly with your employees? Are you aggregating things through Airbo? I probably should know that, but don't know off the top of my head. Like, how are you approaching that problem? Because it seems like what is sent out and the priority in which it's sent out is such a huge challenge for most organizations.
It's really more of an Alexandra question, but I can say what my vibe is and how I ask my team, and I give them the autonomy to manage it, is a combination of that. So there are different things. There are strategically sometimes in contract negotiations based on a budget I have, where I will be more lenient with the amount of direct communications that a vendor wants to send out. However, with that said, I usually tell them that I have to clear it all. And the reason for that is, let's use the hurricanes as an example.
Yeah.
Our CEO sent a really beautiful letter out to the victims in Florida, where we had a huge impact of team members. And I was trying to operationalize overalls, which you guys met with, to help support them to navigate through.
Yeah.
So,
big shout out to Overalls.
Yeah,
Love their
shout out.
CEO. He was
Yes.
super helpful.
Yes, they are absolutely amazing. They stood that up for me in like 3 hours to help get people support. It
Incredible.
was
I'm not
like-
surprised. He's so responsive.
Yeah,
He's wonderful to talk to.
actually meet with him next week, but that was amazing. So with that, I don't want purchasing power or the discount network to be sending out an email, be like, time for vacation. Like, it's tone deaf. And so I basically nothing, no mailers, nothing comes out. My team is looking a quarter in advance for all the comms of what someone is doing. And there are things that I either synthesize and make more experiential through Airbo because I want that feedback and that impact. And there's ones that I let them send because I have to play ball in contracts and negotiations and be a good partner as well. So there's that's really kind of the way that I do it, which is where the idea for you guys came, is that it's a lot to try to figure out and keep in one view, you know, what does this VB want versus what is this dental provider? What's this medical? And if you have multiple of them, trying to figure out what's trying to do what, because there are all of these bolt-on sub products within these products, that you have a 401k vendor who's trying to send financial literacy, but so is like your STD LTD provider as well. And so now you're a team member and you're like, oh, there's just too much going on here. Which is why having the holistic view and being able to look at like, yes, that can go, this stays in Airbo, and do all of that within a communication hub. I want to EA that, by the way, if it comes to fruition, please and thank you. This is my formal request. But being able to see that, have vendors have access to put things and you thumbs up, thumbs down, give them feedback, and then parlay whatever else I want into my campaign for the month for Airbo. Oh, that would be absolutely amazing.
I think we just released the first version of that, didn't we?
I don't think it's out for groups yet. It's just out for us testing. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So did you hear about that?
No, not yet.
Right,
Oh.
right.
We have a new vault that's coming where they can enter like exactly kind of what you said. They can put all of their stuff in and then we can synthesize it out.
I really like the thumbs up, the
Yeah.
approval flows that
Yeah.
you said though.
Yeah.
That's,
I don't,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, it's around the corner.
Mhm.
Like we're testing it internally right now.
It's going to be coming your way soon for testing. Don't you
Thank
worry.
you. Thank you.
Because we're like, oh, we always need your
Steph
opinion.
likes
Yeah.
to go through the pain of getting kinks worked out. Like, it is just nothing. I love it because then I can get things out more effective. And it goes back to where you're talking about with AI and everything that, and those efficiencies for a team. Think about the amount of time that my comms coordinator is of going to all of these vendors and saying, as a reminder, I need to know what your communications for Q2 are going to be by this time, and keeping her spreadsheet up and ticking these off to make sure that she's got them, to then get whatever she needs to get over to Airbo, get whatever she needs to get over to her manager, for it then to come to me to be like, no, that's way off, or yes, that's phenomenal, do more of that, and to be able to help support the messaging and the culture. I mean, it's hours upon hours for
Yeah.
someone to do that.
It's like not fun work.
No.
It's
not-
nice to be able to automate that.
Yeah, you're really,
I have
because
to
you're
add
just
to her
not.
team on that one too, because she gets to deal with all of that and just makes the vision and the culture, and she's such a part of that, come to life. But yes, the like, here's the flyer we're going to send about X, Y, and Z benefit this month. And I'm like, no, can't send a postcard this month. I'm so sorry. It's a lot to manage.
Did I tell you that we're gonna do a retreat in Costa Rica?
No.
Not yet. No.
Am I
Hey, you
coming?
wanna come?
I want to hear.
Yeah. You're totally coming. Well, I hope
Oh,
you're
yeah.
coming.
You were. Yes.
This is So I was in a yoga class a few weeks ago and had an idea. I had just gotten back from Costa Rica.
Were you
And
in a yoga class on top of a mountain in Costa Rica or something? Because I just need to see your picture roll like one of these times in all of your trips.
no, I wasn't. I was actually in this, but it was a really cool studio in Venice, California. It's like very woo woo. It's super intimidating. And I got back from Costa Rica, and one of my like New Year resolutions was like, Vlad, you're finally gonna go do yoga instead of just saying that you're gonna go do yoga.
Hot
So
yoga?
no, I can't. I'm a Ukrainian Jew. Hot yoga does not agree with us, with my people. I'm like literally the sweatiest
Fair,
person in the room, regardless of what the activity is. So not a good sight. So so this is what we're doing. This is actually happening. I'm like literally negotiating the contract right now. I just need Kate's approval on something like after we get off this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, fun.
So there's all these cool things out there on like things that are on the edges of well-being and healthcare. I'm doing a lot of it. I'm wearing a glucose monitor right now that my longevity doctor gave me just to like help dial in what I'm eating while I'm traveling. There's DNA testing that's really cool. I'm sure you know a lot of this stuff.
I'm thinking
Yoga.
about piloting rings for my team because it's another way I want to see if I get people to opt in to get the analytics to more discover
Yeah.
and curate programs.
You're
they
doing
have
that? That's so
activated.
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have all this stuff out there, and I think that there's like a bit of a barrier because there's so many vendors, there's so many, like media events and stuff like that. You go to these conferences and it's kind of like a bit of a bummer and kind of unhealthy. They're all in like Vegas, and like I'm not trashing conferences in Vegas. That's like kind of the only way to do it feasibly with like a big conference.
Yeah.
So we're doing like the opposite. We're doing like a hyper exclusive thing in Costa Rica. We're going to invite maybe like 40 people max. It might even be smaller. I don't know how many rooms we can get. We're just going to hang out, do like wellness things. Like most of the time it's going to be like do your thing, experiment with different stuff. We're going to have like really amazing speakers come in and talk about things that are happening at the edges and help people experience it. And then like the idea is there's like over $1 trillion in spend per year that flows through people like you. Like you are literally deciding the future of healthcare for like 264 million Americans or something like that.
My heart palpitations when you say that, because
Right? It's crazy when you think about how important that.
Like I have a healthy budget. Yes.
Yeah,
I
no,
do.
it's nuts, right? Your piece of it is bigger. Yeah, the idea is we're gonna help get really smart, influential people all together in a room, absorbing the things at the edges, networking amongst each other, just peer groups, and walking away like revitalized and energized to push the mission forward. How we started off this podcast. So yeah. I hope you come. It's in 2026. I'll get you the dates.
Yeah, give me the dates. And I just need like a pillow and a part of a floor somewhere if you get short on the room. Like,
it's like a really nice resort.
I'm just back to my early 20s. Like, I can sleep anywhere. It'll be fun.
No way. We're gonna get you something nice. Yeah.
That is super, super exciting. Now I can't wait to hear more about it.
First Airbo conference.
Yeah.
First one, yeah.
Yeah, it's been in the idea bank for years, but of course we got to do it out of the country for the first one just to make it extra hard.
Yeah. Like you do. He also called me right after and was like, I have this idea. After the yoga class. I was like, okay, let's see.
We had it operationalized within 24 hours.
We did. It was actually, really, you did. It was very impressive.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
You did, we did. Everyone got the email out.
True, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the bias to action. I think that's important too. I think that's how you stay in the forefront. And I think you have to be okay with I have an 80% rule for my team. My company runs like a startup, even though they're not. Being in the startup space, like you can tell me, or previously in the startup stage, you were very matured now as an organization, but you kind of run on an 80% rule. In my humble opinion, like we're 80% good, we can figure out the other 20. And then so you move the needle to that 80%. And if you have fallout, you figure out the other 20 and you do that. And so I kind of have my team the same thing. It's like, we're going to try this. And if we get it 80% right, we can always clean up 20% without it impacting people.
It's a good way to think of it.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's also a very practical approach to management decision making because the idea that you can figure out the other 20% is an illusion. And that's where procrastination comes from.
Yeah.
And that's where all the bad things live.
Yep.
And I think just giving yourself the freedom to say, like, hey, we're probably 80% good. And as we get closer to that last 20, we'll know what's real, what's not. And when we allocate resources, it's actually just the more
Totally.
responsible way to run an organization and a more efficient way to run an organization.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of at time.
I know.
This kind of flew
This
by.
was so fun.
Yeah. Steph, you got anything else?
I know.
Anything else crazy you want to say?
Anything
This is our
else
time
crazy?
for crazy things. You
I
know,
mean, I'm
who
just,
listens to the end? I don't know.
daydreaming about Costa Rica. I can't think of just anyone who's out here listening who has a mission in regards to supporting humankind when it comes to this space. Like, kudos to you. It's definitely a labor of love, and it's a hard puzzle to figure out because there are people, and people are so unique and diverse. And then you have businesses that have to run, and you have bureaucracy and legislature that step over each other. Just know that whoever's out here listening, you're in good company, and it's not easy, but what you are doing are truly impacting people's lives. The amount of past team members that I have had come back to me and say thank you because of something, or reach back out because they got something in this domain that they didn't know how to navigate. And I'm like, sure, I'll help explain it or look at a benefit guide for you. It's just, don't ever lose your human in HR.
What a beautiful way to end this.
It's a great t-shirt. Never lose your human in HR. It's just
Aw.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie, it was
Yeah.
wonderful to speak with you. I'm so glad we had this
Yeah.
excuse to just like sit and talk about whatever.
I know.
It's such a gift. And I know your time is precious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you so much.
appreciate you
So
all.
fun.
I appreciate everyone in Airboat listening. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to John. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Woo.
And
All
Megan.
right.
I can't forget about Megan too.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Too funny. She just left the
She
room.
just left the
She
room.
just left the room.
Oh, sorry. Tell her. Someone tell her.
Yeah, she's
We
not to
will.
drag this on, but she's deep in car shopping. She wants to buy a 2012 Honda
I told her to
Highlight.
talk to you. I was like, talk to Vlad. I don't know.
67,000. I don't know. I literally, as we were doing sound checks, I was talking to her about it.
I just went through, like, I'll leave you this. I know we're still recording, but so I got hit in an accident, totaled my car, and I was almost done paying off it. And then I had to go car shopping again, and I had to do it quickly because I got kids and all that. I can't believe the price of cars right now. Like, Toyota,
It's out of control.
It's insane.
Special on a Highlander now. I'm like, where's my Porsche Cayenne for the price you're trying to charge me for a
You
Highlander?
probably could get it.
Thank you. Can I have a cool mom wagon if you're going to charge me
Wait, what'd you end
that?
up getting? What'd you end up getting?
A Grand Highlander.
You went practical. Yeah.
No, I mean, and then I have a girlfriend who sends me his twins as well, who sent me a picture because we went to the mall. We took separate cars, and she's sending me pictures with her kids sitting in Porsches because she went to the dealership. And I was like, man, one day that Cayenne. I don't know why I've always wanted to be the mom wagon. I probably would hate the cost of oil changes and stuff on it.
We're gonna start this credit card thing and all
then
the
there you
Cayennes.
go,
All
yeah.
the Cayennes.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, TGIF. Thank you for
Yes.
joining us, Steph.
Yes. Have a great weekend, you too.
Yeah,
You
appreciate
too.
you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
And we're
Chat
off.
soon.
Bye, Steph.
Bye.